interest convergence, if you will. But you did bring a point. Today, by dint of those constitutions, the African American is not equal to these guys. He is above these guys. He's now been made a special people by the very people that said they're not special. They're underneath you guys. But it's funny how, in all things, God is there. If they woke up and stopped behaving savagely and realised what these laws actually mean now. Because you could revisit it. And there's no, when they say, oh, equality, we're all immigrants. No, Barack Obama, you're not all immigrants. So we're not all equal. And it can't be. How dare anybody open the gates and say, come and share the pie? Well, black people aren't asking Mexicans or Latinos to come and share no pie. Hold on a minute. We'll open the door for you guys if we need you. Right now, we don't need you. We got unfinished business, and they do have unfinished business. So you won't hear Afrocentrics speak about that. And I'm not quite sure. It's about Kwanzaa. So anyway, if they're going to be worshipping Kwanzaa, forget that. If they're not going to be talking about the special status of descendants of slaves, I'm a descendant of slaves by way of the Caribbean. But those on the American continent, wow. Special status, wow. And all newcomers, interlopers, usurpers, they want to ride off and they want to eat off this pie that the African American has made, make if you want, but they didn't. Let's be honest, if you're Chicano, Hispanic, Latino, whatever you want to call yourself, you speak Spanish. And Spain has about 20 countries around the world you can go. The fact that you go to an English-speaking country and can't speak English, they don't have to do anything for you. Every immigrant into another country that doesn't speak the language is going to have difficulty settling in or assimilating. That's across the board. That's not racism. You can't say critical race Latinoism, or which they do, use black people to propagate their own nonsense, this neo-Marxist. I'm telling you, these people who call themselves Pan-Africanists and Afrocentrics are not telling you. They can stick that right where the sun don't shine. Another thing Afrocentrics say, and I've heard it from the guys from Jamaica, you know what I mean? If they have a show and they'll say, it's good to be black, instead of saying good to be back, right? Dear, oh dear, oh dear. I have a problem with the concept of black. As black, my gloves are black. Unfortunately for you, I'm chocolate brown, okay? It don't do for me. I understand what the 60s was, but we don't live in the 60s, okay? So I'm not going to be out there making up noise about it's good to be black. And then you say that you listen to, there's an idiot down South London who's runs a pirate station. I mean, you run a pirate station and you've got the biggest chat show on your station every Sunday, and you've got the education of a 10-year-old. You can't read a text. You can't even repeat a question without changing it. You have no intellect and no patience, and you don't read books. You're not well read at all. And this is the guy who says, good to be black. And then he'll say, instead of saying last week, well, last week, he'll say last strong. Last strong. He says it all the time, last strong. And I'm like, you're a jackass. You think that a collection of days called a week equates to being feeble. And both weak is W-E-E-K. Sorry, well, it's one of those things. W-E-E-K. And being feeble is W-E-A-K. And because your lack of intelligence can't differentiate the two, you hear the word and you think the same, and therefore laugh strong. I'm telling you, Afrocentrics, Pan-Africanists. And then the old canard. History, hey, it's his story. His story. His story. That's history. So if you were to actually go back to read something of the past, which is what you call history, and the whole root word comes from something different, and it doesn't mean someone's own perception, although some historians will give a twist on the past. The past is the past, but just because somebody wrote a version of the past and new information, it doesn't mean that you can't go into it and have a look and find out where he's wrong or where he's embellished. history is what it is. It's nobody's, it's world history. It is what happened yesterday. In fact, a couple of seconds ago, that's history. I've just said something. That's history, right? That's not history. I'm here telling you what I just said. I'm speaking about what I said. It's just a description, a word, a descriptor, to say a collection of events, phenomena that has occurred. It's no one's story. No one owns what went past, unless you're a criminal and you have to own up to your criminal activities, etc. His story. Yeah, Mozart is black. Let me just step aside and talk about some of the things that, because it's not just the Pan-Africanists who say this nonsense. You get people in mainstream media, they, often they say, we are living longer. I'm like, but I can see you. I can actually see you. And you don't look like you're 200 years old. So shut up, because to make a claim we are living longer is kind of circular reasoning. It doesn't make any sense, because the only how and the only time anybody's going to know if anyone's living longer is by looking at the average dates of the last generation who's actually dead. So you look at the last generation that's actually dead and compare that to the generation before them. And then you determine, well, the last generation outlived the previous generation by 20 years. We can attribute that to maybe medicines, whatever the case may be. The generation that we're living in now, with the advent of the mobile phones, I'm not quite sure that you can make that claim at all, even if you can say the last generation outlived the previous generation, right? This thing fluctuates, I mean, you compare the averages of the 13th and 14th century with the Black Death. Well, I mean, a lot of people have a lot of babies because a lot of babies will die. And maybe out of 10, 2 survive, etc. That's how life could be tough. In biblical days, man lived to 900 and more. Completely different characteristics of the air one breathes. And when you think about it, it's not that hard to believe. I am a young earth creationist. I'm not ashamed to say it. When you actually look into the science of it, yes, science, different argument, that's a rabbit hole, don't worry about it. Maybe I'll do a video, maybe you want to ask questions. Until you've done something about it and done some reading, don't get triggered with your emotions. Please don't get triggered with your emotions. Not having it. It's not going to work. Not here anyway. Okay? So we are living longer is not a claim that somebody alive can say about the people who are alive today, because we don't know what the average is, because we're not dead yet. And if we're dead, we can't make that claim. It's for the next generation to say our generation outlived the generation of the that were born, say, in the 20s, 30s, that era. That's when you can tell it. So we're talking at least 80 years before you can actually tell who's living longer. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the neo-Marxist loving when telling stories or relating what they call history. I think it's plain trying to brainwash you. They always use we, the we in quotes. We did this, we did that. We would look at this, and usually we do this, and usually we do that. Every book you got, when they're trying to tell you about how the reality of life is not the reality of life, and everything is socially constructed, they give the we. The BBC is full of it. I remember when Barry White died, for argument's sake. All you can hear is, well, not all you hear, but, it was wall-to-wall Barry White music. Now, I like Barry White, and I like his music and his style, it was 108, you know what I mean? But you listen to everybody, it was like it was reading up a script. Yeah, we was all making love when this tune was on. Really? Do you know what I mean? Do you see how they re-script life and get you to agree and say, yeah. And I'm like, you weren't making love, mate. You were in jail. You was in school. You was, I don't know. Not everybody was making love to Barry White, right? But you see, they always want to invite you into some pseudo-history, and then you go along with it. And the point is, it's not that whether it's true or not. You're sympathetic to say, yeah, I get what you mean. And you go along with it. And with that, They pushing a policy, they pushing something else. Before you know it, it's real, it's true. Don't let them do it. This is 2019. Own your own language, own your own interpretations, use your own discernment. God gave you the right of discernment. He doesn't give you a preacher to stand before you until you have to think it. Mind you, I'm not your preacher. I'm giving you what you ought to have, is the tools to discern and to actually question and weigh up. And you yourself will say, I get that, that makes sense. I get that. And if there's consistency here, you don't sell your soul to me. Do you understand? You may say, I respect what he's got to say. He's got a good keen eye, good ear, and he makes a lot of sense. And so far, he's consistent. I don't see where the corruption is. You know? One of those things. So, I'm actually just looking at some of these points that I made, and this is what we call nomenclature. Nomenclature are the kind of collections of words that are ascribed to a particular subject. Well, I've not dealt with a particular subject. I've dealt with a few. But miscellaneous. There's another thing. Yes. I kind of have an issue with the concept of white supremacy, and I hear the white supremacy coming from the Afrocentrics, and whilst I can understand it coming from the Afrocentrics and from the Pan-Africanists and so forth, the fact that it's webbed, deeply embedded, not webbed, deeply embedded in neo-Marxist ideology, I really have an issue. I have an absolute issue with the concept of white supremacy. Now, let's define two things. There is a thing called supremacy and superiority. Superiority and supremacy. Now, superiority is not the same as supremacy. If you are a Marxist, a neo-Marxist, you see the world through a certain lens. May I add, empiricism doesn't play a part. The lived reality doesn't play a part. The truth doesn't play a part. What dominates neo-Marxist ideology is abstract, plausibility, and a disdain for absolute truth and God, the Creator. Okay? That's a fact. You only need to look at your Communist Manifesto to see that it says its aim is to abolish morals. Full stop. Communist Manifesto aim is to abolish morals. Why read on? Oh, you want to find out in which ways and how they're going to do it? Well, the revolution didn't happen, did it? Because they don't understand that human beings have a soul, and they have a spirit, and they have relationships. And so therefore they understand their station. Listen, I might want to be a pilot, but I have to recognize I'm not going to put my ass in the front of the plane, because why? I'm not trained to do it. And I respect those who are. I might want to be a judge. But guess what? I'm not going to go puncturing tyres of a judge's car because I'm not a judge and I want to be a judge. And if you put me there, would I know the law to its... No, I wouldn't. I have to recognise that if I am a shoemaker, that's what I do. I'm happy doing it. I'm earning a living. If I'm a baker, that's it. Okay? As it is, I'm a student. And so I am in the process of learning. Higher learning, if you will. So you could take what I say with a pinch of salt. But, right. Superiority. Superiority means something is better than. Innately better than. Supremacy could mean you're under the suzerainty of something that's in control. So supremacy means all aspects of your life are in control of something, right? That's if you know, a Marxist way of looking at it. They see things in divisive ways. it's always divisive. It's never to create harmony or to understand the past, the truth of the past, and how to better it, to better understand it, so therefore we can't make mistakes. There is an innate hatred for and zeal for power which they don't have, and they see targeting the people and dividing us into intersectional groups, i.e. black, homosexual, transgender, gay, bi, considering dark skin, light skin. You will hear people within the Afrocentric movement actually dividing themselves, saying light skinned people aren't black or biracial people aren't black. Why would you even go there but to create divisions? So it's never ending divisions, right? And they think just because you've got a hue or a tone of hue, it means you're solid for the cause. And that's not true. It's just divisive. And so whenever I hear the Pan-Africanists talk about white supremacy, and I realize that trope they didn't think of themselves, I have an issue. I really do have an issue. Because there are different meanings that people are getting from it, and it's never really explained. And I don't know why people, it would appear, want other people to hate white people, but you live in a country where they make them, and there's a majority of them. If you like Africa so much, pick a country, pick a country, pick a country, pick a country, sit your ass down there and live. And broadcast your radio station or whatever it is from there. Go on, pick a country. You know what I mean? Otherwise to that, shut your mouth, okay? So let me just recap on what it was. England, my country, are playing the West Indies at cricket, hence the kit and the flag. I support England in most things, but in cricket, well, you know, that's my parents' heritage. My dad, he was captain of his island, or an island team on his island, and he loved cricket. So as a boy growing up, your dad's your hero, you know, cricket, and we watched cricket. You know what I mean? As much as I love my footy, I love my cricket. So that's why I'm wearing what I'm wearing, and I began talking about, well, this is the third attempt at doing a broadcast, and the first thing was my camera had too many movers on it, so it ran out, so all that I was saying, all you could see was me. Well, actually, yeah, it didn't record because I had to get rid of some of the documentaries I had, or broadcasts I had. Second time I did it, I'm like, oh, this has got to be really good, and I'm gesticulating and all that, and there's no sound, and because I left the microphone switched off. This time I switched it on, right? So hopefully we've got all of this, and I'll upload this video, and I'm sorry that it's taken so long. I'm also doing an MA, and I've just sent, yesterday I sent an essay in, but I didn't actually get to read it. Well, I was reading it early this morning, and I've realised, oh my days, in my essay I have used a quote twice. And also I have used a piece of text that I wrote twice. I don't think it's a big deal, because I've written to him and I've said, oh, look, I've noticed it, I'll get it straightened back to you. I mean, the essay's supposed to be 5,500 words tops. That's with the 10%. I wrote 5,534. You're over 34 words. Well, I'll just take out that, and, you know, it should be all right. And if there's more, then I can actually, give me a little bit more wiggle room to extend on some points within the essay that I didn't get to, because, you know, 5,500 plus a 10% is, for me, who can talk a lot and write a lot and do a lot of reading and research, I want to get it all in. And I don't really like writing like how the neo-Marxists, all they do is cite. They don't really have any way of, they can't really write. They just cite, repeaters. So anyway, I talked about R. Kelly. That was the first thing I talked about. And this series, Surviving R. Kelly. Not interested. Not really. The case that was had, he beat the case, and this is going nowhere. And it's, you know, some people are saying, oh, I'm never going to work with him again, and all of that stuff. Some people are saying, I'm never going to play music, and, you know, they want to get the guy broke. But I don't see how, and I still like his music. I don't much like him, but his music is good. and you know, good barbecue music, good party music, and I don't really care because when you go, I saw a concert and women dancing in the aisle. I'm like, if it's okay with them, then who am I? I'm not a hater. You know what I mean? They're forgiving him. I forgive him. I spoke about the baby, it's cold outside, and the hypocrisy of the Me Too movement. There's an advert about the Gillette advert, you know, toxic masculinity. This is nonsense. It really doesn't even address the history of men and the benevolence of men. And men have laid down their lives for women. And even in the video that they use, they're using real footage of men doing real things. Yet they're saying that's not what happens in real life, but it's real life footage they've got. And the things they're saying does happen, they're using actors to recreate or just invent something to say it's nonsense, I kid you not. I then went into the Afro-centric Pan-Africanist kind of nomenclature and nonsense they do. You know, Kwanzaa, good to be black, you know. We're going to be there this strong or last strong, and his story, you know, as his story, you know, as his... I then broadened it to mainstream media. We are living longer. You can't say that because you're still alive, and the bulk of your people, your generation, are still alive, and it's not for you to make that call. You have to be dead. Someone else has to make that call to say, why did this generation, our generation, my now generation, I think they call this, we're part of generation X, Y, and Z. And still some baby boomers still around, so, you know, until that dies out, someone else will say, well, why did that live longer than this? You know what I mean? Or there was no negligible difference. Or, you know, there was a sharp drop-off. Or with all the technology that we've got, boy, you know, sharp increase in length of life. We're not there yet to make that call. And then I went into the kind of collective we, where they invite you in to agree with them about something off the park, which is patently untrue. It's untrue. There's no truth to it whatsoever. And I'm saying own your own thoughts. And this is the day after Theresa May's Brexit strategy was voted down. She lost by about 230 votes. And normally a Prime Minister would resign. But we're in the era of pussy politics. And these women are so greedy for power, they will not do the honourable thing. They will cling on, Star Trek style, cling on, you know, to power, because they want everybody to believe superhuman, and that they don't have to abide by the standards men have, which is, you know what, I gotta go. You know, I understand that people are not with me, my party's not with me, and that's that. She's not gonna do that. I'll be surprised if she does it, because she'll be copying men, and they copy men, bad men, to a point, and then it gets to, but the innate part of a woman, survival, and me. So with that, I hope not to be too long in my next video. So I hope I made some sense, and I'm hoping I've given you some tips to think about at least. And the only way to make a better world better is praxis. Praxis. It's actually doing, okay? Being that and setting an example, and I'm trying that in my own little way. So with that, I bid you farewell. Have a good one. Until next time.